Okay, morning everyone. Saturday morning. That's as usual. At least in recent times, means puzzle rush survival mode. I'm even earlier than usual today. It's 8:30, as I've got to go out a little bit later in the day. So God knows what's going to happen here. I've only had half a coffee this morning, but I finished the other half. Speaking of which, let's have a bit. So here's the daily leaderboard on today's set of puzzles. 66. That's an international master. 65 from a FIDE master. That's Alexander Rustemov, is a grandmaster I've heard of. Oh, Raunak, I think this guy has just made the final of something like the under 21 World Speed Championship or something like that. I've definitely seen his name. So anyway, top scores are in the 60s. Oh dear. And yeah, okay. Exotic Princess, that's one of the world's top players as well. I just briefly forgotten his name, which is annoying, his real name. But anyway, let's see how we get on. I don't think I'll be beating 50 this morning. You never know. Here we go. Survival mode, play. So if nobody's seen these, or if you haven't seen these before, instead of doing 3 minutes or 5 minutes and doing as many as you can, we have 3 lives. And they start off very, very easy and get much, much harder. So this first one will just be the rook down to here. It's check, and the 3 pawns are blocking in the king. So it's a back rank mate. So we'll put that there. 1. Okay, so there is no checkmate here, but my initial instinct is to put the queen here, which attacks the rook, but more importantly, it's also check. And so when the king moves, we'll win the rook. Should have a quick look to make sure there's nothing else. I don't think there is, so I think we go there. I told you I was asleep. I actually didn't even notice it was check because I haven't had my coffee yet. Well, in that case, the only move's there. And we're still winning because we're a rook up. See, I told you I wasn't going to be awake this morning. Oh, God. Right, well, this one's easy enough anyway. This is just another back rank checkmate. So we'll get that one. I'm going to leave that in because it's quite funny that I was so asleep that I didn't even notice I was in check. This one, we've got a bishop-queen battery, so it's just going to be checkmate up here. I think I'm awake again now. And this one's going to be another back rank mate. What's going to happen? We're going to put the rook here. White's going to block with the bishop, I expect, and we'll take it. And then white will block with the rook, and we'll take it again. And we'll end up giving mate on this square. So let's just see if I'm not going insane. And there's the mate. Okay. Bishop, queen, battery again. F2 for white is always quite a weak square. So is F7 for black. Queen takes pawn is mate because the bishop supported the queen. Okay, this one is not going to be a checkmate. More coffee, I need it. But it is just going to be pushing the pawn to the end. So we're going to push our pawn here and then to here. And because the knight guards the promotion square, white can't stop us getting a queen. Just going to make absolutely sure. I mean, there's a check, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's here. Oh, didn't even have to push it to the end. Okay. What have we got here? Right, well, there's only one way to give a check. So when you do these, usually start by looking at the checks, then look at the captures, and then look at other threats. And in this case, the check, I should say, is bishop to here, check. But of course, bishops go backwards. It's actually forking the rook as well. So it's bishop to here, check. The king will move, and then we'll take the rook. And of course, that queen doesn't matter because rook takes queen. There we go. Okay, so what checks have we got? Well, rook there is obviously no good because the king takes, so that's fine. We do have pawn here check, and that can't be taken because it's defended. And I think we've got mate next move pretty much wherever the king goes, it's mate next move. So this is going to be rook here checkmate. Remember, this rook guards these 2 squares. And if the king had gone that way, then it would have been rook there, mate, because the pawn would have guarded those 2 squares. So that is that one done. Okay, this particular pattern, if anyone's seen these puzzle rushes before, comes up all the time. So we've got the queen rook battery pointing at this square. We're going to take it. The king will go to the corner. Then we play queen here, check, rook takes, and rook takes will be the final mate. So here we go. Takes, take, check, and takes is checkmate. Right. Okay, this is the first one. Well, apart from the one where I just didn't spot the check, but I'll just put that down to not being awake. That isn't immediate. Oh, it is immediately obvious. Oops. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw when I flashed up the wrong thing. Then I thought I saw Speed Chess Championship, which is what that guy Ronak had won. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so the fact that the rook is on the same line as the queen, I think, is the point of this. So if I play bishop takes knight, because the rook will be attacking the queen, white will have to save their queen, and then we've just won a whole piece. So I think that's good. There's no checks that are any good for black. So here. And in fact, we win the queen. Good. Well, this just has to be a knight checkmate, surely, because the rook is protected and it guards these two squares. So this must just be checkmate. I'm not missing anything stupid. It's so obvious that I just wondered if I was missing something silly again, not being awake. Right. This should be easy enough, and yet I can't immediately see it. Excuse me. Oh, yes, I can. It must be rook here. It is rook here. So then rook takes check. The king has to go here, and queen there will be checkmate. I think that's right. So rook check. All of these moves are forced. And now when we play queen here, she's defended by the rook, giving check. And all the possible escape squares are guarded by the queen as well. So queen here, mate. It's not a good sign that it took me a few seconds to see that, you know. I wonder if this is going to end in failure today. I would say if I get more than 40, then I've probably done reasonably well. This is another one of these back ranks. We put the queen here, the king has to go back. Remember, she's defended by the rook. And now we just do what we've done before. Queen here, check. Only move is rook takes, and then follow it up with rook takes for checkmate. So there, and that's checkmate, because the king has no escape squares. Leave it there for a sec so you can check. Checkmate. Oh, this is an instant checkmate. So because that's a kind of like the epaulet mate, not quite, but the king has actually got no escape squares because of his own pieces. So queen here is mate because the queen will attack the king and guard both these squares and is defended by her rook. So that should be checkmate. Right. What are we doing here? This one isn't. Ah, yes, it is. Right. Okay. So I always say look for checks. This check's no good because of the bishop. This check's no good because of the queen. Obviously, the rook here is no good because of the king. I was looking around, where's the other check? But there is another check, and it's this one. Difficult to see all the way across the board, but that must be it. And then because the rook is guarding these three squares, we will eventually be able to play queen to here checkmate. So let's put this here. And white will just put pieces in the way because there's nothing else to do. And then we're winning. Okay, cool. This must be here. Bishop here is check. The queen is guarding this square, which means there's the only thing you can do is put the king in the corner. And then rook takes rook will be mate along the back rank. So this is here. Okay, rook takes bishop. I was expecting, okay, well, that just delays the inevitable. It makes no difference. Rook takes. And now I actually just have to make sure I get this right. Because the obvious move isn't actually winning. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let's just make absolutely sure I don't mess this up. I want to play queen here. That forces the king here. Then queen here, because it's supported by the pawn. King there, and even if there's not a checkmate somewhere, we've got queen takes rook. Yes, so queen here. Queen here. Yeah, okay, that's solved. Okay, okay. Right, this bishop has absolutely no protection at all. So the obvious move is queen here, check. And then if the king moves, we play queen takes bishop. So what will happen is instead, black will play here, because that defends the bishop. but then we'll go bishop takes knight, check, pawn takes bishop, and then we take this bishop down here. So queen here, check. There's the knight. So it looks like the knight's defending the bishop. But of course, if we just take the knight with check, black has to get out of check. And now the bishop's undefended again. We win a piece. Okay. I'm still not feeling very awake, honestly. Right. Okay. This is actually a very similar pattern to the last one. Perhaps not quite so glaringly obvious. Be a good one to press pause and have a go at yourself, actually. Basically, this bishop is undefended. If I could play queen here, it would be check, and I can take the bishop next move. But at the moment, this knight defends the square. So I would suggest I need to take, and then I need to just go here, and then I just take the bishop. Yep, good, solved, piece up. Okay, number 19. Well, not sorry, number 20, we've done 19. Now, what's going on here? Okay, this is going to be the knight move, isn't it? Because the knight here will attack the queen and will attack the bishop. Obviously, the queen's worth 9, knight's worth 3, so the queen's going to have to move. Now, sorry, I'm just rubbing my eye. I really am woken up very, very tired this morning. Get my excuses in early for a rubbish score, hey? Now, if the queen goes back to these two squares, then the bishop's not defended, and we just play knight takes bishop. So here is where we're going to put the knight. So if the queen retreats, we play knight takes bishop. We'll just take, fine. Anywhere else the queen goes is no good. She won't. These squares, she'll just get taken by our queen, and then we win the bishop. This square, she'll just get taken by this bishop. Here's obviously rubbish, and here will be protected by that knight. So this is the right move. I didn't expect that. So that takes with check. We just play queen takes bishop, and we've just won a piece at the end of the puzzle. We've won a bishop for a pawn. Okay. I feel like this is again, here it is. It's the F7 square, and the F2 square for white is so weak, so dangerous, because it's only ever protected by the king. And so I think we're going to play queen takes. The king will go here, and then bishop to this square is going to be pretty unpleasant. So here, here, here. And just to finish it off with the queen now, not with the bishop, with the queen is checkmate. If I take with the bishop, the king can run away. Right, so far so good. This one is going to end up with the queen giving checkmate on this square, which is quite funny because at the minute, how? But okay, rook check will force the rook to block. Oh, he's done it the other way around. Okay, it doesn't make any difference. Rook check will force rook takes rook, and then queen here is mate, because of course from there the queen will guard both squares. Okay, oh, we've got an endgame puzzle. Okay, right. Okay, I need to work out how many moves I've got to play with. So if white's attacking down, they need 1, 2, 3, 4, takes 5, 6 moves to promote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, you wouldn't go there. Here. I'm not sure that's quick enough. Right. I'm actually not completely sure what this one's going to be. So, but there's only one candidate. It's not going to be that because it's a rubbish move and doesn't do anything. I suspect it might be that I have to take the king this way. Rubbish because king takes. Rubbish because pawn takes. Pointless because these two are going to march down this way anyway. So it has to be king here. King here is not going to do anything, is it? It's not going to be quick enough. So it has to be king here. And then it has to be king here. Then it has to be king here. Why has he done that and not just marched this pawn forward? Oh, weird. Well, whatever. King takes. Well, okay, there must be a reason, but who cares? We got it. This is just going to be a question of forcing the rooks off the board with rook check. Because once we play rook takes rook, the king will take the... Oh, sorry. Here, the king will move. We play rook takes rook, the king will take, and then we'll go king here. He'll try to bring the king back. We'll go king here. He'll try to bring the king back. We'll go here. He'll try to bring the king back, and we'll go there. And then the pawn will be able to march. So here we go. Let's watch. Takes here, 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 and this square, and this square. We can't just march the pawn forward here. If this king manages to get around here somehow, it's actually a draw. So we just do that so that the white king can't get in the way. Well, that's checking me, but surely we're just going to take it with the queen here. This is just queen takes knight. It must be just queen takes knight. And then check. Oh, okay. I was going to say there must be more to it at this level than this. Now, this is going to be dangerous. If I play king here, there's going to be nastiness. This is going to be horrible. In fact, we'll probably lose. So if we go king to this square, pawn check, king to here is basically forced, and then queen there would actually be checkmate, I think. So I think we actually have to play here. Yeah, and that's the solution. So that was what the trick was. It was expecting some an unsuspecting player to put the king on the wrong square. Okay, so 25. They usually start getting pretty nasty around 30. Right, let's look at all the possible checks. This one is just going to run into rook takes, and it's us that's getting checked, so it's not that one. Obviously, that's rubbish because pawn takes. That's a possible move, except it's not because of bishop takes. Right, I'm starting to wake up now. We can play knight here. So if I put the knight there, king can't go to these two squares or this one or this one. So he's got to go into the corner. You'd have to go to one of these. Now, the knight moves here also. That's the worst arrow I've ever seen. Right, let's start again. If the knight goes here, that will also unleash the rook onto this square. So the king will go there. This rook goes here with check. Yeah, it's knight here. It's got to be. Okay, then check. And just be careful. Okay, so rook here is check, supported by the knight. The king will go there. We'll play rook takes, and we're just winning material. This has got to be right. We can't play rook takes here because king takes rook. So it's got to be here. I think we're going to go here, and that's the end of the puzzle. Good. Okay. This might be the old classic, what we call the Greek bishop sacrifice. So bishop takes, king takes, queen here, check, king goes back to g1, and then after knight here, this square is tough to defend. You could play knight here, but then rook takes knight, and yeah, this must be bishop takes pawn. Don't do it so quickly, though. If you watch the last episode, I messed a couple up by being too quick and missing something obvious. So bishop takes. I mean, if the king just goes to the corner, queen h5 is still absolutely brutal. So bishop takes pawn, check, king takes. So the king would be there. Queen here is check. The king would have to go back, so it would be on g1. Knight here will threaten queen to this square, which will be checkmate. The only way to really stop it is knight to here, defending back that way. But then rook takes knight. Yeah, this has got to be right. Okay, here we go. Queen here, check. Knight to here. Oh, and in fact, white sacrifices their queen. That's the only way out of it, is to sack a queen. So we just play queen takes queen, and we've finished the puzzle. Okay, good. So we've got a battery of rooks coming this way, and we've got a bishop cross-firing this way. But what's the actual answer? Is this going to be rook takes pawn? If rook takes back, then bishop takes knight, and there's not going to be any way for black to save the rook that's on this square, because it'll be being attacked by this rook and the bishop, and the king can't do it. I think that's probably right. So just have a quick look and make sure there's no checks. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes. I'd have a rook check with the king just hides, so that's no good. So here we go. Rook takes pawn, you probably have to play rook takes back. Then bishop to here is pinning the rook. This rook will still be attacking up there. And so we're just a piece up. Yeah, this must be right. This must be right. Yeah, okay, good. So they're starting to get trickier. I think the key to this one is that this rook guards the whole line. I think we could sacrifice here. So rook takes pawn, forces king takes, and then queen here. And I think the only way to save the game is to put the queen in the way, and then it's checkmate anyway. So I think rook takes pawn, and then queen here. And that's a checkmate. This is called the ladder mate. So the rook guards this line, so the king can't escape. And when I play queen here, obviously the queen will guard that line, so there's no escape for the king. So the ladder checkmate. Okay, cool, 29. Now this looks like it's going to be, basically this is what's called a distant pass pawn. The white king won't be able to get anywhere near it. So if we can force the rooks off the board, we can swap rooks, we're just winning. So I think the right move is going to be rook takes pawn check. And now I think we put the rook here, because from this square, it's pinning the white rook to the king. And if rook takes, king takes, then we have a little chase. The white king's here, our pawn's here. The white king's here, our pawn's here, 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 and we get a queen. So this is correct. And we have a little race. Oops. And as he doesn't get there before we get a queen. Okay, so right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the pawns are level. Okay, let's just investigate. So queen takes queen, he's obviously got to play pawn takes queen. If I then go king forward, he can't really allow me to get to this square, so he'd have to play king here, but then I just play pawn forward and he's got to move. He can't put the king there. He's got no pawn moves. He'd have to move the king away, and then once I'm in, we're just winning. Yeah, I think this is here, and then here, and then here. And okay, let's just make sure. Pawn takes pawn, king takes pawn, and it's actually us that's in trouble. I suspect we have to do this move. The king will go somewhere because none of the pawn moves make any sense. And then king here is winning. Right, okay, so pawn forward, king here. Yeah, good, okay. Oh, this has got to be something to do with the Greek bishop sacrifice that we saw a couple of moves ago. Except it isn't. No, it isn't. We've sacrificed a knight on that square, have we? What was the... No, I don't want to do... Okay, so that must have been something on that square. I guess it was a knight. So obvious candidate moves. Queen to here, because it's forcing, so that has to go back there. But then what do we follow it up with? It's not immediately obvious what's next. So maybe that's not the first move, but it does look rather good. Let's try and work out what comes next. Oh, hold on. Right, queen here, that back there. Now, if we put the bishop here, then we're actually threatening queen here, checkmate. The only way I can see to block it is this. And then we can put the knight on this square because the pawn won't be defending that one anymore. Right, so I think here, I think bishop here, because then you're threatening checkmate. I think the only thing you can do about it is to put the pawn in the... Oops, what am I doing with these arrows? I've lost the plot. Is to put the pawn in the way, but then that's no longer guarding that square, and knight here check will be brutal. It'll force black to play queen takes. Right, okay, I think that's right. Oh, man, I've missed something. Okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. We'll come back to them at the end and see what I missed. Queen there, bishop back. What did I miss? Oh, maybe he could put the... Yeah, he can put the F pawn forward instead. Ah, okay, not to worry, not to worry. Right, let's see. The knight's defending that square. This rook is defending all of this. So this king is in some trouble. So if we play rook here, he's going to have to go there. It's literally the only move. Knight here check will force the rook to the king there. But I can't quite see the finishing blow. I want to see it right. Well, I suppose you can just play rook here and win the bishop, but I reckon there's probably better than that. Right, I think that's got to be first. Now, there has to be a checkmate pattern here. There's got to be a checkmate pattern that I'm missing. There's got to be. Knight here, it can't be as obvious as just take the bishop. Not when, I mean, if it was like the sixth puzzle or something, yeah. But at this stage, it's got to be more difficult than that. So here, besides which, rook takes bishop is just level material, so that's not it. So here, the king can't go to any of these squares. So knight here, king goes there. Oh, it's mate. I didn't spot that it's mate because from here, the knight's guarding this. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm an idiot. Yeah. This is actually checkmate because it's attacking that way. This rook's guarding this square and the knight's guarding this square. So that's just mate. Oh, how was that harder than that one? Anyway, whatever. I always end up saying that when I'm doing Puzzle Rush. How was such and such a puzzle hard? I mean, this one is easy. This has to be rook takes. Then bishop takes, queen takes, although the rook gets in the way, but then we can promote. Yeah, this must be just rook takes pawn. Has to be. What if, hang on a minute, what if rook takes pawn and he puts the rook in the way? Oh, then we've got queen here, which is unbelievably nasty because rook takes queen and pawn takes and we get our queen back again. Yeah, okay, so it's here. Right, he has gone that way. Now, I think the move is here, check. So rook takes is forced and then pawn takes gets us another queen. I think that's got to be right. Yeah, gets us another queen. Yeah, solved. Okay. 33, right. Oh, man, I can give check on this square with either knight. So this has got to be something to do with that. And then when this knight's out the way, right, sorry, I'm going too quickly. So I think this might be here. Pawn takes. Here, again, it's always check. So the king will have to move. And then queen here looks like it ought to be good. But actually, you can just put the rook in the way. And I'm not quite sure we're winning. So maybe it's not quite that straightforward. We do have queen here, though. So after one of the knights takes this pawn, pawn takes, we do have queen here. Ah, so it matters which knight you use, because if we take with this knight, pawn across, queen here, yeah, it'll be check, but the king will escape here. Whereas if we do it with this knight, so knight takes, pawn takes, queen across is then very nasty because this knight's still guarding this escape square. So I think this is this knight. And then I think we put the queen here and we've won. Okay, that's good. So I could have fallen for something there. Right, this time I am actually noticing that we're in check. So that's good news. Well done me on spotting that we're in check. Okay, but how are we getting out of this? So rook takes, king to the corner, presumably. Is that it? It can't be as simple as rook takes queen, can it? I mean, rook takes queen, rook takes his check, and we just run away. Is that it? Well, it has to be. It's got to be. I mean, oh, if this is wrong, I'm going to be right, and then just hide. Oh, hold on. Now, if we just hide, is rook here really unpleasant because the two rooks are then threatening checkmate on that square? But well, yeah, but it has to be because what else am I going to do? I can't put anything on this square because rook takes it's obviously it has to be king back. Rook there. Well, yeah, you go. I called it. So, so what are we doing here? Are we just going to play queen takes pawn check and pick up the other pawn? Yeah, I think we probably are. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? It's just here and here. Yeah, okay, fine. I wonder if I was overcomplicating that. Right, this is an interesting puzzle because white can't win, even though they've got a knight for 2 pawns, because a king and knight can't checkmate. So the thing about this is to make sure we actually, because we're playing black, obviously we're going up the board, is how to do it. So now if I just push the pawn, knight check, king here, I guess the knight's just going to get in the way. Yeah, it's got to be king takes knight. But the question is how to then follow it up. Because if we end up with, so if you have black king, black pawn, white king, you're probably not going to win. I think we're going to have to take the knight. I mean, if we just march the pawn forward, I would guess that check, king moves, knight. Yeah, no, that's not going to do it. It's got to be king takes knight. Now, the tricky bit is what to do here. I think if we move the king, let's just see the possibility. Move the king, 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 and he'll have to get out of the way. Yeah, okay, so whereas if I move the pawn, yeah, you need to get the king in front of the pawn, basically. So I'll play I think that's right. That's right. That's right. Now that solves it. Oh, I wish that I should have left that on the screen to explain why. Anyway, right, and brief pause while I just top up the coffee and then we'll. Okay, right, so I'm back. I've got another coffee, much needed because the puzzles are now up over the 2000 rating mark. So now they're going to be tricky. So now the point here is that we're playing the black pieces. So we're going up the board. We can't just promote because knight takes. Although maybe that is actually the answer, but who knows? It is a puzzle. And we're going to have to do something pretty sharpish because this is going to be a queen. Pawn here, pawn promotes. So white would have a queen. We promote to a queen, but yeah, good arrows. Did I say I was feeling more awake? Right, ours will be with a check. And now, if the king goes here or here, we'll be able to put our queen on this square because it's protected. So, or actually, if king there, we might even be able to play our queen to here because it's protected as well. Either way, the first move has to be this, and it has to be this. Right, it just has to be. Now, oh, it did go there. So now the tricky bit is to work out what on earth is next. So if we go queen here, oh, hold on, it is queen here. Because the only move is king to this square. And then pawn here will be check, but the knight is actually pinned. If you play knight takes queen, we've got queen takes queen. Right, let's show you that. So queen to here is check. The only square the king can go to legally, because our king guards these 3, and our queen guards these 2, and our queen's protected. So the only square that the white king will be able to go to is here. And then we play pawn forward, becomes another queen, which is check. And if knight takes, the queen on this square is then able to take this one. And we've just got queen v knight and we win. So it's here, queen takes, I'll just hold that there. And then queen versus knight in the end game is actually a comfortable win for black. Okay, so that was a 20-49. So they're getting harder. So we're at the stage now, apart from that. I wonder what. We'll come back to that one. That I should have got that, I'm sure. But let's just see where we go. So what with this one? White's just played pawn takes something or the other. I didn't see what was on the square. Probably a pawn, but it doesn't matter. No. So what are we doing? My instinct is that I want to play queen here, check, and have a bash at the diagonal of death, as I call it. I always call this diagonal and this diagonal the 2 diagonals of death because it has these, they have these squares on them that are so hard to defend. Anyway, so I think queen here check. If the pawn blocks, we just play queen takes, whatever. So queen here check, king here, queen here is just mate. Wait a minute, is that really that easy? Is it really that easy? I think it actually is that easy a puzzle. Right, hang on. There must be something to this. Queen here is check. If the king goes to this square, we mate on on f2. And if the king goes to this square, we mate on f2. What? I must be missing something. This can't be a 2100 puzzle. This is too easy. I must be missing something. Hang on. Queen here is check. If the king goes to this square, we just put the queen here and it's mate because it's supported by the knight. And if the king goes to this square, it's here, it's mate because it's supported by the knight. And if the pawn gets in the way, all that does is delay exactly the same thing by one move. This has to be right, but it can't be. It's too easy. Well, that's the easiest 2052 puzzle I've ever seen. I don't, but I'll take it. Right, okay. Right, from an easy one to one that I don't actually initially know. No, I think I do actually. I think the point is this rook's undefended here. So I think what we're going to do is go queen check. And if pawn here to block, we go queen here, which hits the rook, but is also threatening checkmate. So I think this one's actually not too difficult either. Here, here, and the knight comes out to defend this square. But now, of course, we've got queen takes rook, so we've won a rook. Okay, 39. I really wish I hadn't messed that one up now, because if I'd had the extra life to play with, we'd probably be on for a really good score here. That's jinxed it, hasn't it? I'm going to get 2 in a row wrong now. Especially as I don't actually know what this one is. Right. How did I do? Bishop takes, queen takes, knight here, check, is hitting the queen, but unfortunately this knight defends that square. So that's not it. Did you hear that? I sighed because I thought I was all right. And then because I thought I had it and then I didn't. Okay, this needs some thought. I actually genuinely don't know what this one is. So this is probably the first one where even the one I got wrong, I think I had some pretty good idea of what was going on and just miscalculated. But this one I don't actually know. I genuinely don't know what to do with this one. I can't even see a decent candidate move, if I'm honest. I don't know what this is. This is going to take quite a lot of thought. Where's my coffee? Got my second one here. Maybe the magic brew will help. I do not know what this is. I know that I'd love to get my queen to this square because it'd be checkmate because it's supported by the knight. But I can't. So that's not going to do it. I legitimately do not have any idea what this is. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on, this knight's not defended and this rook's not defended. So maybe we play takes, queen takes, and then queen to this square or this square to hit the knight. No, it can't be that one because it'd have to be this one because from here, we're then defending our own knight and attacking this one. Oh, this is it. Do you remember when I said at the very beginning, I went takes, and I'd love to play knight here because it forks, but it can't work because the knight's defending the square. Now it works because we can kick the knight away. So takes here, attacking the knight. And now I think we can actually play queen takes knight. So I want to do this because check and check, but the knight's defending that square. So if we just play queen takes knight, and now we can do it, and then knight takes queen, and we've won a piece. Wow, 40. Okay, so whatever happens now, 40 is okay. My top ever score is 50. So we'll see if we can manage 10 more. So this is interesting. Right, so the point here as white is we can't just promote because rook here's check, king moves, and then obviously we lose our queen. So that's a problem. So we've got to do something. Hold on, black's going down the board. So what if we put the rook here because then we're threatening pawn forward becomes a queen, because I can actually block the check. I think rook here is probably the move, you know, because black's coming down the board. If they go here, we promote rook across, rook in the way, rook takes, king takes. Then the king gets out the way, and maybe we can do so. I think this is probably here, but I'm just going to stare at the board for a couple more seconds just to make sure. So my idea is to put this here so that we can block the rook check instead of having to move the king off the line. That pawn's miles, because that's a pawn. That pawn's miles away, so I don't care about that one. The big problem is whether we can stop this one at the end of everything I've just calculated. So if we go rook, 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 takes, takes, pawn forward, queens, I think we can probably just about prevent this pawn from promoting. Right, I think this is right. I think we've got it. And queens, and that, yeah, good. Okay, cool, 41. Right, this must be the key to this puzzle. We must be doing something to create a passed pawn here, I would think. Is it as obvious as just pushing the pawn on so that it's defended? Is it? It could be that obvious, you know, it could be. It could be as obvious as pushing a pawn. I mean, we can push that one, but pawn takes, and then he just puts the rook behind and we've just lost our pawn. We've got to do something to defend this pawn, and the only thing we can do is just to push it. So I think it's got to be pawn on. Oh, well, he's checked us. Well, we can't go there, we can't go there, we can't go there, so we've got to go there. And now I would say... just got to pick the right move here. So if we go forward, rook takes, forward, the rook goes behind, so that's not quite right. If we go takes, he's probably going to take, and then maybe we can put the rook behind our pawn and we'll be winning that way, because we'd have a pawn. I think that might be right. Is there any way to do this better? Rook on, rook on, we get rook. If pawn on, we get rook takes pawn. That's not going to do it. If we go here, takes, rook across, forces him to go back, pawn forward, pawn there, but but then he's still got a pawn. No, I think this is takes, and then I think we put the rook behind it. And yeah, in fact, there we go. He had no choice but to do that, because otherwise we were going to get a winning position. Okay, cool. 42. Right. Yuck. Well, hang on. This is check. This is just... I mean, obviously the knight is forking the king and queen, so we've got to capture the knight. It's just a question of which one of these two captures is correct. Now, I'm inclined to do it with the pawn, because if we do it with the pawn, then we're threatening to take the bishop and we're threatening to take the queen. So I think we just win a piece. Whereas if we do it with the bishop, the queen just retreats back here and defends the bishop. I think we do this with the pawn and we're just winning. Right, oh, hang on, we haven't just won a piece though, have we? We've got to be careful. Now, pawn takes bishop and queen takes rook. So I think what we've actually got to do is kick the queen again to get the queen off this diagonal. So I think that's what the trick is in this one. I think we go here. Now, I think we can play pawn takes bishop. Quick check, make sure there's no tricks anywhere. No, pawn takes bishop. Okay, 43. Okay, queen takes, and we are threatening checkmate on the move. So queen takes pawn here is threatening queen here mate. So my immediate question is, why can I not do this? What can be done to stop us just winning the game after queen takes pawn? How can he defend this square? So queen takes pawn. How do you defend this square? I mean, the knight check, whatever, we can just stuff. We can probably put king across, whatever, there's fine. That's not causing us any grief at all. So the key here is black's got to defend this square. The only way to do it. Now moving the bishop. Oh, yeah, bishops move like that. Moving the bishop defends it, but it doesn't really because we can just play knight takes. Yeah, that'd be okay. And if he plays bishop here, remember we've got a queen on this square, then surely knight takes is still pretty unpleasant because then we're threatening a discovery. I think the trouble is this is so blooming obvious. And when you get to this kind of rating on the puzzles, 2400, it's it might not be quite that obvious. So queen takes pawn. We're threatening checkmate because there's two other pieces defending the this square. If you move the bishop, I think knight takes is probably pretty deadly. Oh, actually, no, it's even more deadly because if you move the bishop, wow, look at this. So queen takes pawn, bishop here, that because the queen then defends across. But actually, I don't think it does you any good at all because queen takes, rook takes is actually checkmate because this bishop's guarding this square. So that means the only possible move after this is going to be bishop here. But the same applies. It's queen. Yeah, okay, it is this because queen takes, bishop takes, and rook takes is still mate on this square. So it is queen here. Has to be. Okay, right. So I got as far as calculating that correctly. But now, can we still do this? So queen takes, bishop takes, rook takes check. So we've got a rook on this square. The king can only go here. So king here, rook here. The only legal move is king here. And maybe we've got a bishop check and we've got rook takes queen at the end of this. Bishop check and rook takes queen. Oh man, you can tell that we're getting towards the master level puzzles, can't you? What else can we do? There's three pieces guarding this square, so I don't think the knight check's going to get us anywhere. Is this going to be queen takes pawn? I feel like it might be, you know. Rook here. So we'll have gained a bishop and a pawn for the queen. The king will have to go to this square. This is check. The king has to move. And I think we just end up winning. Yeah, I think this is queen takes pawn. And here, supported by the knight. That was it, yeah. Because when the king moves, we then have rook takes queen and various other things. Wow, okay. Right, 44. So what have we got? Queen here, check, supported by the knight. So the king will have to go there. So I'd have a queen here, their king's there. Knight here, check. The pawn can't take because it will be pinned. But the queen could take, so that's not quite going to do it. But I feel like this is something to do with the puzzle. So queen here, king here, and then the rook is attacking. Is it possible to play rook takes pawn check? But knight takes, no, I don't think it is. Oh, knight takes, queen takes, no, because that's not quick enough. That's not quick enough. Okay. So let's try a different method. So queen takes, queen checks, king across, knight takes pawn? No, I'm not having it. Okay. Well, again, we are pushing the 2400 level here, so it isn't supposed to be easy. What if, now, if my problem here is that the queen is attacking this square, because I'd quite like to put the knight on there in a minute, is the point of this that we simply have to kick the queen? I think that might be the point, you know. So my point is here, I really want to play knight check because the pawn's pinned. Oh, sorry, I've lost the arrow. So here, I want to be able to play the knight here. but queen takes. So maybe I can do something about getting the queen away from that square. But what? And that might be the answer. So she won't be able to go there. But then she could possibly go there. But then I have my knight check. She can't go there because of the knight. She could go there. Does that make a huge difference somehow? Because I can have knight takes pawn, knight takes queen here, and we'd have all kinds of threats. Oh man, right. I think this has got to be right. So this is what I've seen all along. So I want to play the knight here check, but I can't do it because queen takes. So what can I do instead? Queen takes pawn isn't going to do it because of knight takes. Remember, this one's pinned. This one can't capture anything because of the pin. I want to play knight here and I can't do it because of queen takes. Can I just kick the queen? Can I just go here and kick the queen? I don't know. I'm not convinced that that's forcing enough. Right, let's look again at the sacrifices. So rook takes, knight takes, queen to here. But the problem is that he's then got, it's not quick enough because queen here, mate. So maybe that's the answer. So what if I combine the ideas? So if I kick the queen away, not only does it kick the queen away, but then I have an escape square for my king if I need it. So here, now the queen's got to go somewhere. She's not going to go here because that allows my clever knight check. So she can't go there because of the rook. She can't go there because of the knight. She's probably going to one of these two squares. But then I've got rook takes, knight takes, queen takes. No, other way around. Then I'd have knight takes, queen takes. Oh, I know I've got the right idea here, but I can't quite. I can't quite finish it off. I can't quite see the killer move, the coup de grace. It's got to be some combination of this and the fact that these two pieces are hitting this square. Has to be, and the pin. It's got to be. But what is the killer move? Okay, once again, rook takes, knight takes, queen takes, and it's just no good because the pin's gone. So it's not going to be rook takes, no. Knight takes, and I've just got nothing. I'm out of moves. I think it's this. Bingo. And look at that. The computer, I wish he's actually just given up his queen. So I clearly was right, but I haven't quite worked out what was wrong with putting the queen on. Well, obviously not there because knight takes would have been winning. Why he couldn't put the queen on these two squares. But the point is, I guess now knight takes queen's just the end of the puzzle. Okay, cool. 45. Okay. Well, if this was a puzzle back at sort of this stage, I'd just assume that we were just going here. But at the moment, there must be more to it because we're now looking again at 24,500 level puzzles. But it does look tempting to just take the pawn because the rook is supporting. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes rook. So queen takes pawn. I'm just looking at stuff. So queen takes pawn. Actually, before I work this out, the other material, is it level? 7 pawns against 7 pawns, 4 minor pieces, 4 minor pieces, 2 rooks, queen. Yeah. So it's dead level. So queen takes, king goes to the corner. Queen takes rook check, queen takes. Rook here check, queen takes, bishop takes. And we are a pawn up. But I mean, is that it? Is that good enough for a puzzle? Is just winning a pawn good enough for excuse me, for a puzzle? Or is there going to be more to it? Is there going to be more to it? I don't. All right, this has got to be right. It's got to be. Yeah, okay. Now the point is what's next. So if I go queen check, rook takes queen, rook takes rook check, queen takes, bishop takes, and we are a pawn up. There it is. We'll have that pawn on the board and white won't have it. But there has to be something. That can't be it for a puzzle. It can't be that easy. It just can't be. There's got to be something more to this. There's got to be something more to this. But what? Oh, hold on. Oh, there is. I've got the right idea, but it's not the queen that goes on this square. What if the bishop goes here? It's the bishop, because then we're threatening queen takes mate. There's no way to defend this square that's any good without just losing material. And if rook takes, then queen takes, and rook takes is mate. Rook, yeah, this is going to be here. Bingo. And now he's played bishop takes because it defends that square, but presumably you just play pawn takes bishop. And we've got the back rank mate, takes and takes. Yes, indeed. I'm pleased with that one. That was good. Right, 46. Okay. And still 2 lives. How I regret missing that one earlier. Oh, man. I've got a horrible feeling I might end up kicking myself for that one. Right, I'd like to play queen takes pawn and then rook here mate, but unfortunately, white is allowed to move as well. It's a real problem with the rules of chess that players are allowed to move. It's cheating, if you ask me. Okay, right. So what are we going to do? We've also got the problem that rook takes rook is on the board. So queen takes. By the way, what's the material? 5 black pawns, 6 white pawns, 2 rooks, and a queen. Okay, takes. Queen comes back. Okay, so I can set that, but then it's just a draw. It's just 5 pawns versus 5 pawns. So there must be more to it. Because remember, it's puzzles, and therefore we've got to be winning. Just being close isn't going to do it. So I think possibly takes. If pawn takes, then we go queen takes pawn, and we're threatening what I said we were threatening before, which is this nastiness. Takes. If queen takes, we still do that because white's got no checks. Well, no checks that aren't stupid. I think that might be right. You know, I think here, rook comes across, king goes across is just nothing, is nothing. I think this is going to be rook takes rook. I don't see anything else. If we play the check, the king just comes out and hits our rook. It's no good. I think it's this. Then I think it's this. Then I think we hide in the corner. And now I think that is it. White's just played the only move that's not ridiculous. And if we play rook down here, it's checkmate except for queen takes, and we're just a queen for a rook up. Yeah, it's here and here. Okay, cool, 47. Right, so we're going up the board. If we can somehow get the rook and pawn swapped off for the rook and knight, we'll be winning because it's 2 against 1. So, how? I do have a rook check because the knight is defending that square, but I don't know if it's that useful. Remember, we're playing black, so we're going up the board here. So it's not like I can't cheat. Just promote my pawn on this square. I can't do that. Yeah, the rook check is tempting. See, if I go rook check, the king can't take me because of the knight, but the king, say it goes there, and then I play rook here, then this rook can never move because the minute it does, we just play rook takes pawn. And so that paralyzes the white rook. So that makes me think that this is probably right. I think we probably play rook here, check. That makes sense. So he's got to put it somewhere. And then I think we just go here with the rook and we're just winning, because there's no way, we're just a knight up and there's no way white can ever use this rook. This has got to be right. Oh, it's not there. Oh man, how frustrating. Okay, no, never mind. There. Okay, no, not to worry. Right, we got one life. We can't afford to get any more wrong now. Oh, this looks difficult. Right, so bear in mind, we are struggling in this one. We are a rook and a knight down. And the minute this knight moves, it's going to be problems, because it'll uncover an attack on our queen, on our king. So we can't just play, for example, queen check, because knight here not only blocks the check, but unleashes a check of theirs. Although does it, because then king here. And how exactly is black defending this knight? That might actually be right, you know. Queen here check. If the knight goes in to block, we play king here. Oh, no, because there's queen here, so that doesn't quite do it. Okay. Huh. Ah, okay. Well, what else have we got? We've got another check up here. Oh, hold on. Hold on a minute. Check here. But he can go here. Okay, so check here. If the king goes there, he just gets checkmated on this square. So he's not going to go there. So he's got to go, no, not there. He's got to go here. And then we've got queen here, which is actually mate, isn't it? This has got to be here. Puts the rook in the way, queen takes, queen here, winning. How was that 2600? That, okay, whatever. Right. What's happened? White's played queen there, so we're playing as black. Evidently, two knights for a queen is not good news. So we must be looking for some sort of checkmate. Knight here, check. If the king goes there, I think we might have run out of decent checks, because pawn here, king here, knight here, there's an escape square. Right, so that's not going to do it. What about knight here? The only square then is here. Knight there is not quick enough, because although it's threatening check, oh, it's not threatening checkmate because of this square. Right. Okay. Here isn't going to do it because pawn takes, so it's not that. I don't think that's going to do it, because after the king goes here, neither knight can actually do a check at all quickly, so that's not going to do it. So it's got to be here. Now, the only square the king can go to is here. And then can I play king here? Because then I'm just threatening pawn checkmates. There'd be no checks. I think it's here. Ah, okay. Well, 48 is good. It's a good score. I'm really happy with 48. Let's investigate the ones that were wrong. And okay, right. So here's the first one now. I can't actually remember what I decided on this. Oh, yes. So I did queen here, which was correct, if I remember. The king has to go back. And then I tried bishop here, because I figured that pawn forward wasn't going to do him any good because of the knight chat. Oh, of course, it doesn't work, does it? Because queen takes knight and we're still losing our queen. Okay, that's why that was wrong. So I'm an idiot. So, yeah. Why am I struggling to see this? It's only a 1700 level puzzle. This is going to be really obvious. Isn't it? Is it knight here? I mean, it doesn't matter now. We can take guesses. I mean, is it knight? It can't be just pawn takes, pawn takes. I know that we get that, but that's not it. It's got to be better. It's got to be better than that. But what is it? Is it knight there? Why? What? Why? Oh, okay, okay. So if you play pawn takes, now bishop here is threatening mate, and there's actually nothing you can do about it. You can block with the pawn, but then bishop takes pawn, and you can't protect that square. So I had the right idea, but I did the wrong move order. Okay, so takes, and then you just win a queen. Oh, for heaven's sake, I'll show you that with the analysis board for this one. That's really frustrating. So queen takes is correct. King to g8 is correct. Knight to f6 is what happens. And if you do this, you have bishop to d3. Oh, it's going queen g6 first. Oh, well, same difference. Oh, so bishop d3 doesn't quite work because bishop, okay. So it is going to be this, but not straight away because there's a bishop check in the middle. What you have to do is queen here check, because the pawn's pinned, forces the king across, now check, now this, and now bishop d3, and there's just no way you can stop it without giving away stupid amounts of material. Okay, well, fine. Okay, right, let's find the next one. Okay, so now this one, I actually had it right there, but then my idea of here wasn't correct. But why? Oh, I wonder if it's knight here. Because then if king takes, knight checks, king moves, whatever, knight takes. And then we end up with exactly what I said at the start of this, which is that the rook and the pawn come off the board for the rook and the knight. But I still don't really get why rook here isn't good. But I wonder if it's this. No, it's not that either. Okay. Well, what? Oh, hold on. This is all on a line, isn't it? So maybe the move is just to put the rook up here. Yeah, there you go. And now we get the rook behind the pawn. Rook takes pawn. Okay, so there's something. Now I know that because rooks need to go behind passed pawns, whether they're your own ones or whether they're the enemy ones. Put the rooks behind the passed pawns. Puzzle rating 2600. Wow, that was a tricky one. Okay, all right. Let's get the third one that we got wrong. Okay, here's the last one. Now, the other two I probably should have found, really. So a bit disappointed. This one I'm genuinely not so sure. I played knight here, but now that I think about it, queen takes, pawn takes, and there's no way I'm stopping this, I don't think. Let's just have a look, see if that's the problem. So here, takes, and then here, I might be able to get my knight over in, no, not there, in time, maybe. Yeah, I can, but that still leaves a king and two pawns against a king and one pawn over here. So that probably is why that wasn't the move. So maybe it is there, but I ruled this out because neither knight can now check the king. Oh, didn't I see this and just for some reason forgot that it existed because I said put the king here. And for the reasons I will not understand, I did actually see this. I'm sure I saw this. But yeah. And well, you're just winning. I mean, well, I assume you just play knight here. Yeah. Oh man, why did I rule that out? Let's have a look at the analysis board on that. I actually saw that and completely forgot that I saw it. I'm sure if you watch back on the recording, you will see me say, what if I put the king here and there's no queen checks? And I didn't do it. What an idiot. So here, here, here. And you have to play queen takes pawn because there's no other way to avoid this horrible checkmate. What happens if you play c3? It must be mate on the move somehow. If you, yeah, it is because you still play pawn forward takes. takes and it's checkmate. Oh man, I actually saw that. Okay, never mind. We're not going to be annoyed. So Puzzle Rush, 48 is a really good score, even though I probably should have got over 50 again, but hey ho. Right, in the hourly leaderboard, we are, now I'm really annoyed now because if I had got those and I should have got those and I nearly did get those, we would have been top on the hourly leaderboard, but 48 is clearly pretty good. We've come ahead of a women's master. There we go. WFM stands for Women FIDE Master. So we've beaten a master player. Any other masters on there? No. Okay. Well, that's pretty good, though. We'll not be anywhere near the daily leaderboard with 40 odd, but 48. But still, not bad. All right. Well, yeah. And it's our third highest. So a reasonable effort, considering I was half asleep and considering on the very first puzzle or second puzzle, I actually missed that I was in check. A reasonable effort, but also tinged with disappointment because probably should have got at least 2 of the ones we got wrong. And especially that last one, because I swear when I watched this recording back, I did actually see that king move. And I must have just forgotten that I'd seen it. Anyway, maybe I'm imagining things. Still, 48 isn't bad at all. And hopefully that was interesting and a bit of fun and useful. And see you next time for a bit more. Thanks for watching.